In 1859, in a work called A Contribution to the Critique of Political Economy, Marx wrote something that I think I basically agree with. Well, there are 2 points that he's making. The first, I absolutely agree with, and the second, not so much. So, what is the first point? The mode of production of material life conditions the general process of social, political, and intellectual life. And the second point is it is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but on the contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. So, in plain English, he says, where you stand inside the economic structure shapes what your mind takes to be obvious. You don't sit down one day and build an entire worldview from scratch. The position that you were born into comes with one attached. And the ideas of whoever owns the most tend to become everybody's common sense. It's really hard to argue with this point because you can see the evidence of it even today. For example, look at the AI situation right now. Every serious institution is telling you that this is the future. It's inevitable. You shouldn't be scared of it just because it's something new. And people who are telling you this, they're not trying to lie to you. This is the mechanism. Enough amount of people who you trust, whose opinions you value, tell you the same thing over and over and over again. And because so many smart, capable individuals believe in this one simple fact, it becomes a fact to you. Anyone who questions it looks like an idiot. And you look at the politics through this lens, and it's not hard to see where the appetite for revolution comes from. If you follow the logic all the way down to its root, if your opponent's views were handed to him by his position, then arguing with this person is just a waste of everyone's time. You're not talking to just an individual. You're talking to a set of beliefs, of convictions, of ideas, biases, opinions. There's just an accumulation of everything that comes with your class. And on that reading, no discussion between the revolutionary and some rich kid is possible at all. And someone who thinks that way finds confirmation in, for example, South Korea. A handful of family dynasties run the corporations and, by the virtue of the influence that they have, get to shape the policy. And if you're born outside those families, it doesn't matter how good you are, the ceiling is there. And everybody can see it. They even have terms for it, gold spoon and dirt spoon. Which one you were born holding is the single biggest factor that defines your entire life. That's what makes the case for revolution. But the main problem is that the revolution fails. The path that the revolutionaries are advocating for fails because of internal contradictions, and you can find them easily. Look at the Vanguard Party solution, right? We've gone through this at length in my Lenin video, so if you want to check it out, give it a shot. The link will be in the description. And what Vanguard Party is, very quickly, it's a group of people who understand the theory and take power after the old masters are overthrown and guide the masses toward a better future. But let's just remember what we agreed on. If the billionaire doesn't understand his own worldview, if he just simply absorbs what the class gives him, what his position in the system gives him, then what happens to whoever takes that position after the old master? He inherits the position that presupposes certain beliefs, certain ideas, and certain convictions. Why wouldn't he inherit all the problems of previous masters if the new Vanguard Party replaces the old masters? And here's the deeper problem. If nobody picks their own worldview, that has to be true of the people planning the revolution too. But the problem is, it seems to never be the case. Every person who tells you your beliefs come from your class is making one exception. It's themselves. He fully realized the Marxist ideology and he got out. Marx was a bourgeois intellectual funded by Engels, a man who basically ran his father's cotton mill. By the theory, he should have produced ideas that served the mill, that would favor what his sponsor, his circle, would favor. But there's an answer to this inside the Marxism as well. Basically, it's something like a portion of the ruling class of the old bourgeois defects. They basically tell them, goodbye, we reject you, we are with the cool revolutionaries. But if you stick to that response, you concede one important thing. If one person can climb out of the position he was born into and see the thing clearly, see the life clearly, and understand what kind of a cage everyone lives in, so can a judge, some legislator, some politician. So you can have a discussion or try to have a discussion before you resort to violence, right? Because it seems like this is what happens every time. So before you get to that violence, maybe trying to have a conversation, discussion, maybe you can get somewhere. And what did actually happen when the vanguard took the seat? Trotsky, the man who lost the power struggle to Stalin and got a pickaxe in his head for that, described the entire thing in detail. According to him, the party degenerated into bureaucracy with its own privileges, its own interest. They basically betrayed the revolution that produced them in the first place. And look what happened to him. He got exiled and then murdered. That's not evidence that the new rulers were open to argument. It's the opposite. This agreement became treason exactly the way it would have under the old owners. Imperial Russia was an usurper, an exploiter. Yet you still had more freedom, more liberty under the empire, as opposed to as a citizen of the Soviet Union. But we know that there are available alternatives that work. Look at what happened with labor unions. Yes, they came at a real cost. People died winning those fights and solidifying rights for themselves. And it's absolutely necessary to be honest about this. But they stand directly between owners and profit. They exist in nearly every country. And workers got there without seizing the corporations or installing some vanguard party after a violent takeover. The system bent. And this is the most important fact about it, that you can adjust the system as you go to maximize benefit or maximize gain, some pleasure off of living. This is what the system is supposed to look like. Yes, it's not supposed to be something that is stiff, hard to change, not adaptable. It's not going to work. So let's get back to those words that we mentioned earlier. Marx said that the mode of production conditions politics and law and ideas. And then he switched verbs and said social being determines consciousness. Conditioning, I accept. I've been accepting in the entire video. Conditioning does happen, and conditioning seems to be almost natural. Determination is the one that kills the discussion for me, and determination is the one that later can justify any atrocities whatsoever. And as we know from the history, there were a lot of atrocities.